Have you ever stopped to listen to that uncomfortable truth you've long avoided? That sensation that accompanies you in silence, even as you prefer to ignore it? Rejection, the thing you fear most, what you strive to evade at all costs, is not your adversary. It is, in fact, your greatest ally. This is not an attempt to romanticize or soften the inevitable. Rejection hurts. It tears. It burns with an intensity that's hard to forget. But it also has the power to awaken something you thought was lost. Do you know why rejection hurts so deeply? Because it's not about the other person. It speaks of you, of what you silence, deny, and have yet to resolve. When someone tells you no, they're not rejecting you. They're expressing with clarity everything that irritates us about others, leading us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. So tell me, what part of you activates when you face rejection? What shadow emerges? What hidden fear surfaces each time you hear a no? For therein lies the true mystery. Rejection is not random. It arrives precisely when it must, when you need to open your eyes, when it's time to evolve. Perhaps you recall that last rejection, that recent moment when you were turned away. But let me ask you this. What if I told you rejection is the best thing that could have happened to you? What if you knew that far from destroying you, it could make you indestructible? Imagine this. Every time you seek external approval, you become fragile. You grow dependent, enslaved to opinions you'll never control. In that moment, you lose precisely what makes you authentic. Your essence, real attraction, genuine attraction, isn't born of constant acceptance. It arises from the mystery of self-sufficiency. When you stop desperately seeking acceptance, you begin to radiate a strength others perceive, even if they can't explain it. The world instinctively understands that you no longer need it. Here lies one of the most uncomfortable truths. The more you chase someone, the more you seek their validation, the more they reject you. Why? Because the human mind despises neediness. No matter how sincere your intentions, if you emit desperation, you emit rejection. Detachment is power, not because it makes you indifferent, but because it reveals a fundamental truth. You are already enough. But how do you reach this point of self-sufficiency? The answer is as simple as it is uncomfortable. You must accept your shadow, the part of yourself you deny, reject, and hide even from yourself. Carl Jung called this process individuation, integrating all your broken fragments into a single whole being. Only when you achieve this union do you free yourself from others' judgments. You grasp an essential truth. No one has the power to truly reject you except yourself. Reflect for a moment. How many times have you betrayed your own principles seeking approval that never came? How many times have you molded yourself into what you thought others wanted, losing your essence in the process? And in the end, ironically, you were rejected, not for who you truly were, but for the persona you'd become to please others. Here lies the secret few understand. True attraction isn't manipulation or reverse psychology. It's the manifestation of someone who has conquered their shadow, who no longer needs external validation because they've chosen themselves unconditionally. The world is saturated with people who strive to please, who beg for attention, who despair for crumbs of affection. Do you want to be different? Stop seeking, stop begging. Choose your path, even if no one else understands it, even if it means temporary solitude. For it is there that true power resides. It is there that the mystery of personal magnetism is revealed. You are not alone out of weakness, you are alone by choice. And that choice radiates strength. People sense it, even if they don't understand it. That is true attraction. It doesn't depend on empty strategies, but on transcending need. Rejection, far from weakening you, makes you stronger. Every no you receive is an opportunity to look yourself in the mirror and ask, why do I need others' approval so badly? Why do I grant so much power to someone who doesn't even control their own life? Rejection awakens you. It forces you to be honest with yourself, to confront what you haven't yet overcome. Every refusal is a mirror showing you exactly who you are and what you must transform to grow. That's the uncomfortable part, but also the most powerful. Rejection doesn't lie. It reflects your weaknesses with precision, but also your potential. So listen closely. Stop fleeing rejection. Embrace every no as a door opening to emotional freedom. Accept each rejection as a signal to rebuild your self-esteem from the roots. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's the only authentic path. True attraction doesn't happen when you become what others expect. It happens when you transform into what you need to be. Real freedom, authentic strength, both arise from ceasing to depend on external opinions. Live by your own criteria, even if no one understands. For in the end, what truly attracts is unapologetic authenticity, emotional independence, the mystery of someone who knows how to be alone, not out of loneliness, but because they've understood their own worth. When you grasp this, rejection loses its power, and you finally reclaim yours. Remember, rejection is only the beginning of your true potential. But now comes the most intriguing part. While you desperately seek external acceptance, you ignore the deepest rejection of all, the one you inflict on yourself. How often have you ignored your true desires to fit into molds that don't represent you? Reflect. The greatest rejection isn't external. It's the one hidden in your daily choices. Choices made out of fear of being left out, of falling behind. That is the most dangerous rejection, for it is silent, subtle, and above all, self-imposed. The true darkness isn't someone telling you no. It's you telling yourself no every day through your actions. If your inner dialogue is harsher and crueler than any external word, that's where the real obstacle lies. You haven't learned to choose yourself first. Until you become aware of your shadow, it will steer your life from the darkness. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's the part of you crying for attention, understanding, and reconciliation. If you analyze your behavior, honestly, you'll see clear patterns. Relationships failing the same way, situations repeating, conflicts cycling endlessly. This isn't coincidence. It's your shadow trying to be heard. Each repetition is an ignored message, a call you silence. But what if, instead of resisting rejection, you decided to listen to it? What would change if you faced what you fear finding within yourself? This is where depth psychology makes sense. To become whole, you must confront your internal chaos, your insecurities, your fears. As long as you ignore them, you'll seek externally what you'll never find there. For outside, there are only distorted mirrors. What you truly seek lies within, in the corners you fear approaching. They're dark, yes, but only there will you discover your true potential. The paradox is simple. The more you protect yourself from rejection, the more you reject yourself. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Most live without knowing themselves, acting under masks built to avoid looking in the mirror. That's why they never stand out. They're imitations, copies striving to please. They manipulate, pretend, and in the process, lose their essence. The hardest lesson to accept is this. When you face your shadow and welcome it, you begin to live without fear of rejection. For you understand that the most devastating rejection is the one you inflict on yourself. Once you overcome that, no external rejection can harm you. That is true detachment, not indifference or coldness, but the profound understanding that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else. This independence is magnetic because it's rare, because it's authentic. The world is full of people seeking approval. Very few approve of themselves. And when you do, you automatically stand out because the rest reflect insecurity. Now, reflect on those you deeply admire, those with inexplicable magnetism, whose presence commands respect and fascination. What do they have in common? At some point, they chose themselves over external opinions. They faced their shadow and decided to live by their own rules, not others' expectations. It's in this act of courage that their allure resides. They don't seek validation, they simply are. Paradoxically, this absence of desperate pursuit makes them effortlessly attractive. So-called reverse psychology, superficially seen as a manipulation game, isn't that at all. It's the natural manifestation of someone who's fully accepted themselves. These people don't chase others because they've stopped chasing themselves. They've found within what they once sought outside. This genuine, serene indifference makes them magnetic. The paradox is beautiful. The less you need acceptance, the more you receive it. The less you chase, the more you attract. When you renounce the anxious pursuit of external validation, you allow life to flow organically toward you. You become someone defined not by external circumstances, but by an inner connection. Once you reach this understanding, Once you realize rejection only hurts when you reject yourself, the unexpected happens. The world begins to seek you. It detects something unique, authentic, alarmingly scarce in these times. It's as if you'd spent years searching for a key outside yourself, only to realize you've always carried it in your pocket. Imagine if today, right now, you decided to choose yourself for the first time. If you left behind every fear, every external expectation, every label imposed on you. If you looked in the mirror without filters or prejudices, seeking no one's approval but your own. I assure you, behind rejection, behind fear, lies your true essence, patiently waiting to be recognized and accepted. So listen carefully. Waste no more minutes begging for acceptance. Spend no more seconds awaiting validation from those who don't even validate themselves. Learn to see rejection as a clear message, a direct invitation to awaken and start living from your inner power. When you stop desperately needing external approval, something magical happens, something almost inexplicable. You begin to attract exactly what you need. If you've made it this far, you're likely ready to face the deepest question. What would you do if you knew you'd never need anyone's approval again? What life would you choose? For here lies the final mystery. When you overcome the fear of rejection, there's no going back. Something changes definitively within you. In that instant, you finally understand what you'd always suspected. You never needed anyone to be whole. You always were. You just had to remember. Rejection, after all, isn't a sentence. It's your greatest opportunity. The question is, will you seize it now or keep waiting for others to decide for you? Rejection isn't just a door to self-knowledge, it's a test of authenticity few are willing to face. Here's another uncomfortable truth. When you're rejected, what truly wounds you isn't the other's opinion. What hurts is that their opinion aligns with what you already believe about yourself. What scares you isn't external judgment, it's the reflection of your own insecurity projected onto others. That's the open wound needing healing. And it's precisely there that transformation occurs. Rejection becomes your greatest teacher, illuminating with absolute clarity the terrain where you must work. Unknowingly, every rejection acts as a map, pointing exactly where your unhealed wound resides. Most prefer to ignore it, hiding, denying, lying to themselves. But this denial only prolongs the agony. If you want the power few achieve, stare directly at what you fear most in yourself. Don't flee. Don't look away. Confront that dark part only you know in the silence of your nights. Here's a fascinating paradox. We live in an era obsessed with appearing perfect, where rejection is hidden and disguised as success. Social media is filled with smiling masks, filters, and poses meticulously crafted to hide deep insecurity. But what if, instead of hiding emotional scars, you dared to show them? What if you told the world without fear or shame that yes, you've been rejected, you've felt fear, you've doubted, but chose to move forward anyway? Here lies the most powerful irony. The more you hide vulnerability, the less authentic you become. People sense falseness from afar. What truly impacts isn't perfection. It's brutal authenticity, the courage to show wounds, scars, and lessons. So stop hiding rejection as if it's shameful. Start wearing it as a badge of courage. For it's in your acknowledged weaknesses that your greatest strength arises. But let me be clear, this isn't about romanticizing rejection or wallowing in victimhood. It's about becoming a conscious warrior. When you admit rejection can't destroy who you are, you ascend to a higher emotional level. You learn an essential lesson. Your identity can never depend on others' applause. Emotional dependence inevitably leads to defeat. Don't isolate yourself. Learn to connect with others from the strength of one who seeks not approval, but genuine companionship. Notice how the deepest relationships arrive when you're not desperately chasing them. A universal law few understand. When you stop pursuing, you attract. But beware, this isn't passivity. It's living with such passion and purpose that you have no room to worry about others' opinions. It's occupying so much space with your essence that rejection loses its place in your reality. Rejection will still exist, but its impact vanishes because you no longer grant it power to define you. Now, imagine achieving everything you desire, every dream fulfilled, every goal reached, every yes from those you once wanted. What happens next? You'd feel an enormous void, discovering nothing external can truly fulfill you. This reveals an undeniable truth. True satisfaction comes from within. What completes you was never in another person or place. It's always resided in sincere self-recognition. So why keep seeking external approval? Because you fear accepting that everything depends solely on you. It's easier to blame the world than take absolute responsibility for your own fulfillment. But it's in this fear that your true strength lies. When you realize no one will rescue you emotionally, you stop waiting outside for what only you can give yourself. The ultimate secret behind the deep psychology of rejection is this: only when you intimately understand you need nothing external to feel whole do you begin to authentically attract what you deserve. You attract not out of need but by choice. This minimal difference radically transforms your life. You no longer walk the path with open hands begging for acceptance. You advance with security, independence, and solidity, knowing your value never depends on others' opinions. Life rewards those courageous enough to live authentically, unconcerned with fitting in. Society pursues and praises those who actively ignore its rules. The most irresistible people aren't attention seekers. They've eliminated the need for external validation. That's power. That's pure magnetism. Rejection is the unequivocal signal you're still chasing externally what can only be found within. Are you ready to embrace rejection as life's greatest gift? For the only rejection you can't recover from is living a life without ever choosing yourself. Now that you've seen the unfiltered truth, the most fascinating point arrives. Rejection is merely the start of a deeper journey. The final question isn't how to avoid or overcome rejection. It's what would happen if you actively sought it. Imagine exposing yourself to rejection voluntarily, not to suffer but to accelerate growth. Every no becomes a compass guiding your evolution. This radical attitude connects you to a truth few know. Life gives you not what you want, but what you need to grow. The true secret to emotional fulfillment isn't escaping pain. It's thanking it as the gift pushing you toward extraordinary consciousness. Your mission isn't to conquer others or be loved by all. It's to conquer yourself, mastering your mind until rejection becomes pure fuel. Behind every magnetic person lies a history of rejection turned into stepping stones. What if you not only accepted rejection but sincerely thanked it? Each closed door shows a new path, more intense, meaningful, real. Rejection was never a barrier. It's always been a shortcut to who you truly are. Now, what's your next step? Will you keep avoiding closed doors or start tearing them down, understanding each holds the secret you've sought for years? Most will never reach this depth. They prefer surface living, chasing fleeting approval, avoiding emotional risks. But you're not most. You've chosen to go all the way. Now you face a powerful decision. Return and pretend you heard nothing, or cross the line into authentic emotional freedom. If you've made it here, you've already decided. Welcome to the circle of those playing the inner game, the one with no spectators, played alone with yourself. Here lies the true mystery. When you conquer your interior, the exterior responds automatically, not because you seek it, but because you no longer need it. Now tell me, are you ready to accept this truth? Are you prepared to change your relationship with rejection and make it your greatest tool for growth? If this resonates, take one more step. Subscribe, hit the bell, and comment. I choose to conquer myself. Let me know how many brave souls have made it here. Share this with someone needing these words. Sometimes, a simple message opens eyes and hearts. If this reflection added value, give it a like. It's a powerful way to support this space of personal transformation. Before you go, share your thoughts below. What resonated most? What step will you take now? Remember, true change begins the moment you choose yourself. See you in the next message.